Pod Candy!
A podcast about cults, crimes, and killers.
In the early 1980s, a Manhattan socialite named Frederick von Mierers told a group of young, beautiful New Yorkers something extraordinary. That he wasn't human. He claimed to be an alien walk-in and predicted an apocalypse.
And people believed him. Not just believed, they followed him. Models, actors, young professionals. He called his group Eternal Values.
One of those followers was a teenager named Hoyt Richards, who met von Mierers on a Nantucket beach at 16 years old. Richards would go on to become one of the first male supermodels of the 1980s, and for nearly 15 years he lived a double life, jet-setting model by day, sleeping on a mat in von Mierers' apartment by night.
Von Mierers never lived to see his predicted apocalypse. He died in 1990 at just 43 years old from complications of AIDS.
After his death, the group retreated to a compound in North Carolina, stockpiling guns, gold, and years of food for the end times.
Richards tried to escape twice and failed. On his third attempt, in the middle of the night, he crept past the German shepherds guarding the compound, and once he was out of earshot, he ran.
This is Bring Me the Beauties, a model cult, the HBO docuseries from director Chris Smith. And today, we're getting into the guru, the beauties he gathered around him, the doomsday that never came, and the long road one man took to get out.
Outside my window, it's only raining. When the wind blows, I feel pain. I don't need no doctor, baby, I'm not sick. My body's been locked up, heartbroken ever since.
I'll tell you one thing. It's a good thing this cult happened so many years ago, because this is a cult. If it happened now, I'd want to be in it. But like Studio 54, I'd be turned away at the door.
There's no way. You, with a sexy outfit and your hair done and blown out.
What is a sexy outfit? A t-shirt and my yoga pants? That's what I always wear. That's like my regular uniform.
Isn't that interesting that like these models were absolutely drop dead gorgeous, all of them. Gorgeous. Now, von Mierers, I remember hearing and seeing him somewhere, like throughout my life. I don't know why or where, but the main question I have for you, Dori, is why did people find him like, what were they attracted to? What was he giving out? Because whenever he spoke, he was sort of, like a little bit disconnected and sort of strange. And it was just weird. And I'm wondering why, what was his attraction? What was the attraction?
Let me tell you this. I was absolutely shooketh when you sent the intro, because I did watch this, as always. I watched these so long ago. Even if I watched it yesterday, I would still forget a lot of them.
Yeah. We're goldfish.
But the fact that he died at 43, I thought he was like 65 years old when he died.
I couldn't believe he was.
What was the attraction of him? Just like all cult leaders, I think that there is like a confidence about him that, there's going to be an apocalypse. This is like, follow me. I'm the one who died that came back. I'm one of the only people. Like, I got a sense of like confidence from this human being that I think that's attractive to a lot of people. Like,
yeah, I mean,
I don't have that confidence, so nobody's following me to do anything.
they're just, the interesting thing is, he had all these beautiful people around him and they were modeling and like we're talking about like Hoyt Richards, whose name is John, but he called himself Hoyt. Um, he was like absolutely drop dead gorgeous. That
Yes,
guy. I mean,
gorge.
everything he did and very, very cute. But then when you heard him talk, not in the, future stuff where he's older and talking about his regrets and his family, but in the earlier times, he sounds brainwashed. I really believe that these people were so brainwashed. And I'm starting to really understand this phenomenon now that we've watched so many of these of like, how can you fall into this trap? But I saw it. I could see it in him.
Yeah,
And then they're
and he was
fighting themselves, you know?
it's funny that you say, because like Hoyt is the guy's last name, but
Right. His name's John
now
Hoyt.
he's Hoyt Richards, but it
Right.
was like John Richard Hoyt or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But yeah, you're right. And he was also like one of the recruiters, right? He got that gorgeous Jackie, who was the Elizabeth Arden model,
Yeah.
into the cult as well. And she's
Beautiful.
beautiful. But okay, so like I don't think they had a standard of attraction to be a part of it. It just so happened that because Hoyt was this major model. Oh, and let's say this too. How great was it to see Fabio in the documentary? And
not only
a good guy. He's such a good guy.
He's a great guy with depth and empathy and compassion. I mean, he was this kind of like looker. You always thought he was kind of a vapid person. We're just assuming. I mean, you know what assuming means, making an ass out of you and me, because he's certainly not a dumb guy and he's a very aware person. And I really appreciated him. I really did.
Yeah, he was in it. He was in it for a hot minute as well. So like,
and he saw through it immediately.
And he was one of the ones who got Hoyt out of it and helped him, gave him a place to stay, like helped him when he was leaving it. And just like all of these cults, like we see, as soon as you are separated from it a little bit, then you start thinking for yourself. And then you're like, wait, what is going on? One of the main things was that von Mieres, and you said he's like an alien. To me, he looked like
he looks like an alien.
Yeah, but like a plastic surgery alien. So he told them all, none of them could bang each other. Like, you can't have sex. That was one, but he was banging every dude he could find. And again, the age of 43 or 45, I was shooketh that he died of AIDS because he was banging everybody, but he told the cult, you can't have sex with anybody.
And then if they were in love, he would get mad. It was a very weird thing. Like, they didn't understand. I really saw this sort of craziness. They could not think for themselves. They had no thoughts of their own, no ability to discern or to understand or to see through or anything. It was like black. And maybe it's because Hoyt was discovered at 16 when he was at Nantucket, and maybe he was just carried away. Now, Hoyt wasn't gay, so it wasn't an attraction. So, you know what I mean? I'm trying to figure out what.
Well, I think it's also like like a lot of them like were communal living, so they all were together all the time. But it did start just like with like when I think of like, like twisted yoga, like it's something they were trying to better themselves. Like initially, it was that allure of we're doing things for the betterment of the world, of our lives. It wasn't about beauty. It just so happened that they were all attractive. But yeah, it was about that. And then it got to, like most cases, the cult leader has such a large ego that suddenly there's all kinds of demands of everybody, and you have to live my way or the highway. And that's where it gets very tricky because the person thinks they're a king.
They think they're a king and they have all these gems. So he had all these gems, so of course it all goes back to money. It all goes back to manipulation, money, what he can suck out of people. But I also noticed that these cult leaders, I don't, do they set off to be cult leaders? No, but they sort of get high on it and they start getting worse and worse with their power and more dangerous and more erratic. And that's, then he was allowing them to have sex, and that became a huge issue when he
Right.
allowed them to have sex after that. And then they were selling these gemstones, and then they found that they weren't worth much. And they gave their, just like tithing, these people gave their money to this guy.
Well,
And,
and Hoyt left with, Hoyt was the first male supermodel, really.
huge,
And
so
he
famous.
left with nothing.
Nothing.
He gave all of his money to them.
And he missed so many years with his family. And, as we saw at the end, his mom was dying of cancer, and he really dedicated her last time on Earth taking care of her and being there for her, because he missed so much. I mean, that poor family, they were trying to get him out, and like the kiss of death is when your family says you're in a cult, because that's exactly what they're indoctrinated to resist.
Yeah.
Just like MLM, anything. No, it's not. A cult is this. I'm not in this. An MLM is this. A pyramid scheme is this. It's all the same.
Yeah, it's the
Charismatic
alienation.
leader. The alienation, and also this walkout and this alien thing. I am not. Let me just say something, and I'm sorry if I'm offending any actual aliens.
Well,
I hate aliens. I hate
mean,
alien and
you're
UFO
not
talk.
offending me. You're not offending me, and I am an actual alien.
I'm talking about literal close encounters of the third kind, ET, alien. I like ET. But aliens are not an interesting thing. I don't want to read about them. I don't care about them. I'm turned off by them. And that's why this whole Scientology crap, this alien shit and the spaceship and all this bullshit, like, what is wrong with people?
Well,
I mean,
I am not like a connoisseur of aliens, but I did enjoy that. I did enjoy that Project Hail Mary. That movie was, I didn't read the book, but that movie,
I did not see it.
Fantastic, with Ryan Gosling.
Should I see it? Oh, I love Ryan Gosling.
Oh, I was crying. I was like,
oh my God.
I'm just saying, because you're so anti-alien,
yeah,
to maybe give this movie a try.
I can. Audience, we've just we're promoting Project Hail Mary with Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling. You're welcome, Ryan Gosling.
Of Barbie fame and others.
Oh, I love him so much.
I love him too.
Talk about somebody who could be in the model cult.
Yeah, and by the way, do we find a hot guy in this? I mean, who would we bang? I think Hoyt.
Yeah.
In the younger days, but not as a crazy person.
You know who was cute too? Jackie, the Frederick von Mierers' right hand was John? Was that his name?
Yes.
Was John. He was kind of cute. And he eventually got out of it as well. See, that's the thing. I think there's always hope. Like, I do find the hope in a lot of these cult documentaries, or when we always say, like, how do you get into, like, I would never do that. Mm-hmm. But then the hope, when these people do escape, I give them huge kudos.
Huge, because it's not easy. And again, you don't want to admit to yourself that everything you believed for however many years is not true or it's a lie, because then you have to reckon with your own self. When you realize all of this was fake and bullshit and a smokescreen, then you're mentally, and that's why a lot of people around now have all this cognitive dissonance about what's going on in the world.
Yeah, and especially since you brought it up too, with the alienation of your family, like that is something also very, very common among cults, and I think one of the most tragic things of cults is being like ripped away from your family, who's usually always still there once you leave.
Yeah, I would be. I mean,
if your kids, oh my gosh, like joined a cult.
Yeah, well, remember NXIVM? I mean, we haven't done NXIVM yet, and it's been kind of we've seen a lot on NXIVM, but
I want to get myself branded right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna get my dog paw branded on my asshole.
On your asshole. Oh my gosh. Please
no, I
keep
might
this
ask.
in. Please keep this in because
Jeremy,
that is context we all need.
You know, these are so we know that like the bite model, like all these things that happen. So, and I am not criticizing anybody who falls into it because I have fallen into things similar, not necessarily a group, but things that have like, we've talked about this. So it is possible. And you don't know because you have cognitive dissonance. So until you wake up and you start untangling and really hearing people, listening and seeing and separating, how can you possibly get out of something? You know what I mean? And then
I'm so leery nowadays that
me too.
I don't think I'd ever, now watch, I say I don't think I'd ever be in a cult, and what, next year I'm like in some like
and me and John are like, John and I are like, Dori, hello.
Yeah, and no, you're not my friends. You're not my family.
Yeah, I love this nose picking cult, and I'll do it if I want.
Hey, that's not a bad idea. I do think that I do think that the doctor is probably.
Oh, we ready?
Well, I think he may have some major opinions, especially I also want to know what type of cult he thinks that I would be what I would succumb to.
Oh, that's a great question.
Should we
for Dr.
open
John.
the green door, or should we keep it closed and let him escape?
We don't soon get a sponsor to remodel this green room. I'm telling you, I might go on strike here. But
hi, doctor.
Well, now I forget your last question.
Oh, the cult that I would succumb to.
Oh, the cult. Oh, easy. Come on, that's low-hanging fruit. The dog rescue cult.
Yeah.
You'd be rescuing dogs.
They're just sometimes a cult in themselves. So you're correct. You are correct.
Have you, Dori, heard about Satos in Puerto Rico?
Of course, I'm a huge advocate of Sato, the Sato Project.
Yeah,
Sato.
exactly.
How do you know about them?
Oh, I know a lot of random things.
What is that? I've never heard of that.
They're stray dogs.
Yeah, it's an animal rescue in Puerto Rico. It's the Sato. There's a huge dumping ground for a lot of animals, and they were wiped away during a hurricane. So a lot of them died a long time ago. But the Sato Project tries to, spay and neuter and give food.
Didn't American Airlines have a program where they were shipping large numbers of them back to the United States for adoption?
Probably.
Something like that. Anyway, so your cult would be the certainly.
I'm in a dog cult. I'm in a dog. Everybody, I'm in an attractive dog cult.
Yeah, what kind of cult would I be in? Because you're in the dog cult.
I think you're in a dance cult. Just like, did we do? There is a documentary on a dance cult.
Yeah, we didn't do it. We talked about it when we first talked about the show. I would love to do that. It's a crazy.
That came out. There were the influencers, the sisters that were in the dance cult.
Yes, we didn't do that as a one of our topics, but we all talked about it when we were formulating this show, and I thought it was fascinating because I used to be captivated by the little YouTube shorts of these dancers. There'd be these YouTube had them a lot. Now they've disappeared because of the what happened with the cult that they were in. But that's a fascinating story.
Or how you think you can dance. A lot of them were on the show. How you think you can, or they were on that show.
So you think?
It's an incredible story. And that involves a yogi as well, Anyway, I forget the guy's name. We should talk about that off camera, so to speak, and talk about maybe doing that one. But Stacey would be a dance cult, sort of like the Shakers or something like that. She'd be dancing until the Lord comes and saves the world.
Shaking right now. She's shaking what her mama gave her right now.
Yeah, she's
shaking my money maker.
I'm so glad the audience doesn't see that.
Yeah, I know it's not good. I'm not wearing makeup.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
So
very attractive, Stacey.
Would
You
I
could
get into
be in the model cult. You're very attractive.
There
and
you
very
go.
short?
There, yes, yes.
So what do you think, John?
Well, first of all, as always, I like comment on the document. This was an excellent documentary by Chris Smith. I thought it was well done. It was captivating. As always, it really leaves a lot of room for our discussion as to why, how, when, where, what these things happen. So I'm really chomping at the bit of adding my 2 cents on your great conversation. And by the way, you both pick such great material to discuss. I mean, I was watching this and going, they hit it again. You know, Dori and Stacey just hit a home run again. This is
We
great
like what we
content.
like. We like
Yeah,
what we
yeah.
like.
Well, you got the taste. I just follow your lead. Let me tell you. Oh, I have so many comments. And I don't know why I'm leading with this one. It's a minor thing, but John Hoyt Richards, changes his name. He's a Princeton grad. Now, I hate to be competitive here, but as a Northwestern person, I'm going, how stupid can you be to follow this cult leader when you have a Princeton education? But he was also a partier at Princeton, which I didn't think existed. I thought they were all, nuclear scientists. He was a big partier. He was a football player at Princeton. And then his football career ends. And I can identify with that. This almost same thing happened to me in my career. But interestingly enough, and I don't want to make any from the mount parallels here, but football was taken away from him. And it's like his whole sense of being and identity was ripped from him. So who am I? Was ripe for Frederick von Mierers to come into his life. Now, in my story, when football was taken away from me, literally in the hospital, I told my mother, she said, you need anything, magazines or anything? I said, bring some Shakespeare books. I have to become a student. So big difference. Rather than pivot in your world, John Hoyt was devastated. He's stripped of all his identity that he worked for his whole life, and didn't have the flexibility in his life to go, okay, well, I got to get a career, I got to go to work, I got to do something, I got to think about my future. Rather, he continued his party ways, and then he meets in Nantucket of all places, and I think that's something to really make note of. Nantucket, that's a rich people's paradise. And again, we have these cults starting from people which have a lot of privilege, a lot of means, and therefore the ability to explore the world and my meaning in life, rather than I got to make a living and pay my rent. These
Isn't
people
it
are
interesting that we didn't know his mother was alive?
right, right.
I mean, his mother was alive.
Although both of you, and this is one of my little pieces of data I like to slip in here, she was mentioned early on in the documentaries and described as when John Hoyt was growing up. She was very critical. You remember that in the documentary? She was very critical. He could never be enough. He would get A's in classes in high school, and she's, oh, I'm sorry, he'd get an A minus. This was what was stated on the document. And he'd come home and she'd say, how come you didn't get an A? So again, you have somebody who has this family pressure. I don't want to say dysfunction, but there's this background behind why somebody like John Hoyt would be absolutely ripe for this bizarre Frederick von Mierers, who I'm going to call Freddie the whole time, because John Hoyt said in his interview during the documentary, I can't call him Frederick anymore because that's too much respect to
And
give
he
to him.
didn't like to be called Freddie. He liked to be called Frederick.
Right. And so you asked about.
I'm going to call you Johnny.
Yeah, there you go.
From now on, you're Johnny. I have no respect for you.
Yeah, I was going to say, Dori, that hurts. I thought you respected me.
I'm lying. I have the utmost respect for you and your
thank you.
football career.
That's a nice backtrack that you just did. I want to get to a really important question you asked, and I think a really essence or theme of our episode here today. Why do people follow these bizarre people? And I want you to think back, both of you and everybody in the audience. Go back to middle school and high school. I would theorize that everybody had a character like this in their background. Some pseudo smartass who thought they, were intellectual and they were reading some cliff notes of philosophy, and so they would, have conversations, and they people would gravitate to these people, and they were. And I'm using the term pseudo or fake smart. They may be articulate for their age, but I know I had characters in my life like that. I didn't get caught up in it, but I could see friends kind of, fascinated by the conversation of Nietzsche and, or some book this guy read, etc. Then in my career, it happened in high school. It was like that. Happened in college. And then when I was a professor, I remember a student that all the students gravitated to because he read Freud, and he was kind of thought himself as a Freud scholar. And I'll never forget the first paper he did for me. It was so bad and so misrepresented Freud. I gave him an F, and he was absolutely blown apart. I told him my comments on the paper. He's a cocktail intellectual, and that's attractive to people. You can just spin a good story. You add on that Freddie was an attractive man when he was young, when he was a model. He was good looking. He became bizarre looking, I think, because of surgery and things like that. He also dressed the Nantucket way. He had white chinos on and sweater and sometimes a scarf, and he looked the sophisticated part. So we have attraction. Dori said something very important: confidence. These charismatic leaders all exude a confidence that the people that gravitate to them don't have. And they just, the victims just suck up this confidence. And you can see that even in John Hoyt. Even though he becomes the most successful male model in history, he really at core lacked confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have attractiveness, confidence, playing, this pseudo intellectual kind of thing, and boom, that's the recipe that sucks people in.
So I was thinking the whole time. I've been trying to think who in my high school had that quality, and there were two people, and they were not intellectuals, though. They were. I'm not going to mention names, obviously. They were popular.
Name them.
They were popular. Ingrid?
No. Not Ingrid. I was in love with Ingrid.
Ingrid was absolutely gorgeous, but she was like, everybody followed her around. I mean, we just followed her, and we followed this other woman around. She defied the rules. Not Ingrid, the other one. She defied all of the rules. Everybody allowed her to do whatever she wanted. She could put her legs up on the desk with her shoes off. She could sit back. She could leave class. Everybody allowed her. She was that person.
Yeah.
And that's how it starts, I think.
Yeah.
The rules don't apply to you. You know what I mean?
That's another attraction, is that they are a part, they're stimulating. They're exciting. There was a lot of visuals in the documentary about Studio 54, and look at how countercultural that was at the time. People would, be naked and dancing, and there was sex on the floor of Studio 54. It was outrageous. People are attracted to that. So that's another element that really attracts, especially young kids. John Hoyt got involved with this Freddie when he was 16. And that's when he met him on Nantucket.
Okay. Studio 54, I am obsessed with as well. Just when you said sex on the floor, I was just in New York seeing Rocky Horror at Studio 54. And honestly, when I walked in there, I had to take it all in. I'm like, that is an era that is so inviting to me, and that I absolutely thought of when I watched this documentary as
Yeah.
well. That
What
it was
year? Like
and the
what year of it, Dori? Like 70s-ish or 80s-ish? What is
80s,
it?
the 80s, and
Mm-hmm.
also too the choosing of who can get in. It reminded me
Right.
of the model cult, because it is kind of like that. You're not attractive enough to be in the cult. And again, nothing was ever said that people couldn't join the cult if they were unattractive. I don't want to name names, Ingrid. I'm kidding. There was a woman that was interviewed who didn't seem like a model of in this documentary, who was a part of the cult. And then, well, that one guy though was a looker back in the day. Now he's not much of a looker, but there was another guy too, that bigger guy that they interviewed, who was
Yeah.
a part of
Bald.
it.
He was bald.
Yeah, the bald
Yeah.
guy. But he was a
Yeah.
looker when they showed photos
He's
back
a
in the day.
model. Yeah, he was a
But
model.
I do equate both of these, like Studio 54, kind of like Frederick, who did go to Studio 50. I could see it. Like
Like an
that's
Andy Warhol, like
yes.
those people, those attractive people there. You know what I mean?
As
Artists and
John said, in those white chino. I love the fact that you said chinos, John.
oh my
That
God, white
that got me.
chinos. Yeah. What was
Just to
with the
be descriptive.
graininess of the recording? Why did it look so freaking old? Because it was
You
the
mean
80s?
the
The
pictures of
recording is
the
like,
pictures
yeah,
of
they were all
Nantucket?
just real.
Yeah.
No, no, no.
Yeah.
Like the recording of Von Mieres and John
Yeah.
and Hoyt, and sitting in there talking about eternal values.
I mean, they're on Betamax or
Yeah, it's
VHS,
like a
so they're
Betamax. Yeah.
probably a
Right.
Betamax
No, it was
tape.
Betamax. You're absolutely right. It was Betamax.
Speaking of the videos that they presented, how about those segments from that one talk show? I forget the name of it.
Oh, the
The
guy,
host was Bay,
yeah,
somebody Bay,
Richard
Richard
Bay.
Bay show. He was outstanding. He was nailing this group. He was just calling them out and challenging them. And I was going, this is like Pod Candy. This was the original Pod Candy podcast. He was great. But also, I want to get into another thing, and I fortunately for this episode, early in my career, I became popular with it was either a modeling agency or something where I was sent a lot of patients who were models. A lot of them were involved with drugs, and
Oh yeah.
particularly heroin,
Mm-hmm.
because
Cocaine.
cocaine. One of the things that the audience needs to know is we look at these people, these models, and go, well, that must be freaking outstanding. Just go walk around and be in the camp. It is hard work. It is grueling hard work. And I know both of you in the entertainment world can identify with this. And it's also a lot of rejection. There's an awful lot of rejection. And it's different rejection than both of you who are actresses and entertainers. It's rejecting you as a person.
Oh,
That
I see what you mean. Not as
you
a talent.
not for
Okay.
your talent, but your looks, what you
Looks. Your
are.
looks.
Many models would tell me that they would go to a gig and they'd have a lineup of people that were sent to this gig, and a director or a photographer would just go down the line and go, "Oh no, stupid nose. Oh, what's that forehead? Or what color is your hair?" And just go down the line and make absolutely derogatory, ugly comments to these people. And as famous as John Hoyt became, I'm sure he went through rejection. I'm sure he went through those same kinds of experiences that these models go through. So, what is the other thing about John Hoyt that makes this possible? it's a tough field. It's very grueling. Look at how much he was traveling around the world, and again, you're valued for something that you don't have a lot to do with. It's just you're born there. John was born unbelievably DNA, unbelievable DNA. He's maybe the most handsome man I've ever seen in my life, and
Oh
just a
yeah.
gorgeous individual.
No, Ryan Gosling. Sorry.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
John Hoyt by a thousand miles. Ryan Gosling. He's cute. He's cute.
I'm
I
gonna get
would.
you a sign. I'm gonna get you a signed headshot of Mr. Hoyt.
Paul Rudd and Jason Bateman.
Oh, I
Okay,
love
those are my
Jason Bateman.
those are my three. So I'm just telling you,
Wow.
those are my three.
Wow.
I'm a Rob
love-
Lowe.
Oh,
I always have loved Rob Lowe.
love
Always.
Rob Lowe. I love
He's
Rob Lowe too.
phenomenal.
Gorgeous.
Who's
Until
your
I
number
saw
one
John
lady,
Hoyt,
John?
Rob Lowe would be number one.
Who's your number one lady? Famous lady.
Oh, I
Farrah
like
Fawcett?
Anne
Farrah Fawcett?
Hathaway. I like Anne Hathaway.
You like them young.
Charlize Theron. Charlize Theron.
Oh.
I like Charlize Theron. That's how you say her name, actually. I
Theron.
heard.
Theron.
Theron. I love Meryl Streep, and I love Rachel McAdams.
As like lady loves or as
No, just
like
actors. Oh,
look.
I
thought we're doing attractiveness.
Oh, Charlize.
Like Meryl
Charlize.
Streep. Good for you, Meryl Streep. You got a shout out from Stacey.
Absolutely Charlize for sure. And
Yeah,
there's
sure.
multiple people, but Charlize is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
like her.
Yeah.
Sorry, we digressed.
We digressed.
Let's talk about, I know this isn't really the cult part of it, but let's talk about AIDS and HIV and that thing. So, obviously he's becomes HIV positive and then it becomes AIDS. Frederick, nobody else in that sphere. Interesting. I was thinking, was he trying to, make the moves on any of those people, or was it people outside of that? And then also this sort of stigma of like not telling anyone and just like fading away and becoming like nothing, but just becoming just a shell of yourself, and just that whole thing. And watching him do that, a lot of them really were having trouble with it. Like, first of all, they didn't know he had AIDS. So that's the thing that I wanted to talk about.
Well, I think the thing to point out here is there was a transition in the group. At first, it was a celibate group. And I didn't pick up from the documentary that Freddie was having sex apart from the dictate to be celibate. Then,
yeah, me too.
Then he opened everything up, if you recall, and said, now we can have sex. And that was because of John Andreas, his little golden boy, fell in love with Jackie, who we should talk about a little later, what a hero she was. John fell in love with Jackie, and then it's almost like Freddie had to change the rules that, okay, you can't have fun. So he opened up the door and said, in fact, have wild sex. Everybody have sex with each other, but keep it in the group. Now, he went out, if you recall, he was going to 7th Avenue and picking up hookers, and with his little buddy, his Paul Hinton, which is his assistant, were going up and picking up men on the street, and sometimes rather dirty men. And he was acting out sexually, wildly and with abandon. And therefore, he picks up AIDS. It was the time of AIDS was exploding, and it was almost predictable.
I got a huge Steve Zahn vibe from his little assistant, the long-haired assistant. That was a character in itself. That was hilarious.
So he doesn't seem like he's out of it. Like he seems half in and half out. Like he doesn't seem like he's settled. He's sort of like
which one?
The dude.
Yes,
the dude with the long hair.
Yeah. Like
I don't know.
He was like
seemed
sitting.
To be...
He's like, I'm.
But didn't I kind of got the sense of I kind of get the sense of Frederick, there was no mention of Freddie having like a true love.
No.
So I thought maybe that was a part of it with at first, like you can't have sex with people, in the group. Don't have sex even outside. Like this is your focus, just being in this. But then he did open it up, like you can have sex with each other. But I felt a bit of like a jealousy vibe. Like because he was always searching through these random dudes, male prostitutes, like there was never that connection, and maybe that's why he didn't want the followers to be in any type of a relationship as well.
Dori, I think you're right about jealousy,
Yeah.
but I think it also goes back to a fundamental aspect of all these cults, control. It was also control, and control. They often have this control over things that you say, what does that matter? But the celibacy with control, of course, we see like in all these cults, separate from your family,
Mhm.
give us all your money. That was just part of the typical definition of cult control that they exert over these people.
Mhm.
But also, I would say to you, you're right, jealousy.
So you did talk about Jackie, and I adore Jackie. I did just look her up recently and was like, what is Jackie doing now? And she's really out of the whole world. This was one of the models in there who did fall in love with John, and they left and actually found out when they got divorced they're more friends than they ever were loved, but they trauma bonded together, obviously.
True. Yes.
But she was one of the main whistleblowers on this cult and trying to go, and she was a young woman. I'm just curious, like, again, I'm always like mystified how people, and even like this young woman, has the balls, the courage to really be like, she was in it for years and then be like, this is wrong, things are going on there, I'm going to report this to the police or the FBI. Like where does one find that strength to do that?
I think a key element here is the depravity of what an individual sees. That's the continuum that you cross. Think to yourselves, and again, audience, do the same. Think to yourself of things that you've seen that you just go, okay, that's going way too far. I have to do something about this. And we all have that, what would you call it, boundary or transition where you go, okay, I gotta do something about this and report this or say something or take some action. And I think with Jackie, as she left the group, she then, realized this is absolutely crazy. Aliens, all the sex. There was a mixture of drugs, which wasn't emphasized in the documentary, but I bet you it played a bigger part than was in the documentary. And by the way, I think Paul Hinton, that long-haired guy, when you talk about him, I'm picking up the guy's high. he was high throughout this whole interview.
Seems like he dropped a lot of acid.
Yeah,
seemed a little
exactly.
like.
So I think that is what happened with Jackie. It was like she leaves the group and all of a sudden it hits her. It's like, how freaking crazy is this and wrong? I have to do something. It was that threshold. That's the best word. It was that threshold inside her that said, I got to do something. And she was a tremendous hero. And by the way, she was almost the equal to John Hoyt in terms of her popularity, and absolutely drop dead gorgeous.
Drop dead gorgeous, yeah,
Drop
really.
dead gorgeous.
She was,
I remember her.
Once they showed pictures of her, I said, "Oh yeah, I've seen her in ads."
Yeah, me too.
Etc.
Yeah,
Well,
she even did like Estee Lauder too. She even
Huge
like got
career.
one of the biggest ones out there.
And as long as we're talking about leaving and taking action, another key element, which I'm dying to tell the audience about, remember this intervention that the family tried to do with John Hoyt?
Yeah.
And it failed.
Yeah.
And it's a formal thing. It's not just a word, it's intervention. It's a technique often used in my field for getting people out of criminal behavior, out of these cults, etc. And what happened, just to explain for the audience, the format of this is that you get as many family members and friends together, and then you confront the individual and just try to convince them to come back into reality, into the family. And I will tell you, and I've been actually a part of two of these, and I'll explain in a minute why only two after all your experience, because they're often just failures. It's just a waste of time. The two I was involved in didn't turn out well. Person continued to do drugs. The other one was about a criminal behavior. Continued to be a gangbanger, etc. And they very
John,
seldom work.
That's what I was going to say. So when the person isn't ready to be like intervened with,
yes.
How do you but it's like telling them you need to quit smoking. Quit smoking. We all think you need to quit smoking. You're not going to quit smoking.
No.
I mean, these things, you can't get somebody, you can't intervene when somebody's not in that place. I mean, I've tried that in a bunch of different fashions with people. And if they're not there, so, I mean, I knew that wasn't going to work. And that was so sad.
Yeah, it was so sad. But I applaud the family. In 30 episodes that we've done, how many times have I said, what's the family doing? Why isn't the family stopping this, etc.? And here we see the family tried. I had to applaud the family for taking action. But that wasn't the right action.
No, probably not.
There's other things that they could have done. But that's why I also wanted to bring it up. I really, for the first time in all of our episodes here, is that a family was taking some action and saying, you can't do this. But of course it didn't work. A couple more things that both of you brought up that I would really like to emphasize. One, Fabio. As a guy growing up, I hated Fabio.
Well, because he was like, he represented this sort of like,
he was a joke. Everybody made
kind of a joke with that flowing hair and stuff.
But he's
audience,
great.
You watch this a documentary, and he's a hero.
Oh yeah,
he's smart. He knew what was happening, distanced himself from all this craziness, and at the end, he took John Hoyt in and gave him a place to stay when he had no money. He counseled him, helped him, etc. Fabio was another hero in the documentary. Jackie's a hero, Fabio's a hero. And I think at the end, John Hoyt was a hero. That he left and he spent, the time as his mother was dying to be her caretaker. I don't know what you both felt about it, but I
isn't that also though too, like he felt obligated because he was, I don't know, John, I wasn't as enamored with him as maybe you guys were. I think he seems like a good person, but he wasn't like a hero to me. And I think to like watch your dying mother after you've like negated the relationship with her for all those years, it's an obligation. Like I felt bad, so I'm going to now take care of her.
I agree. But it wasn't just the caretaking of his mother. He also now is going around the country and appearing to broadcast about don't get involved in these cults.
And
that's more the point I was getting at.
Right. And I do love that, but there's also a monetary thing to that as well. So again, not to like, I don't want to burst the bubble, but there is money in that. And he lived, I guess, he seemed, because he was traveling so much. And again, I don't want this to be about money, but he was traveling a lot as a model. And yes, he gave all of his money to this group, Eternal Values. But I just felt like he was accustomed to living. He didn't seem like one of the ones who was always there. Like he was always the one out being almost the breadwinner for the group. So he's accustomed to a certain life. So I didn't get a huge, I don't know. I just wasn't that like, oh, he's such a great guy. And I mean, he's fine. He was the conduit for the story because he was a like such a successful male model. But I don't know. I really felt more
I
like the Jackie and the Fabio.
I
Like they
I
were the
agree.
ones that I'm like, wow.
I will agree. Main thing I saw in him was the journey, almost like they call it in writing a hero's journey, where he was in this, horrible thing, and then he came out and he's trying to do some good. So maybe not, let's not put the title hero on him, but maybe a hero A minus or something. But you brought up money. You brought up money, and let's also make a point very quickly because we're running out of time. Isn't it interesting that all these cults that we have talked about, they all have little business that they create? With Frederick, Freddie, he started this jewel business where he would, I don't know how you get away with it. You hike
I
up
have
the
no
price
idea
of
what
these.
that was. That was
Well,
so weird.
he'd buy cheap jewels and then he'd hike up the price, but he'd sell them to the diamond industry in New York. Aren't these people,
Oh,
examining the
yeah.
jewels and seeing what they're really worth? That was another
You
sad
think
thing.
so?
John Hoyt, at the end, he said, I invested $250,000 in a number of jewels, and I thought that would be my escape money. And they turned out they were only worth $11,000.
Yeah,
Not that
that
that's chump
sucks.
change, but
But
it's not two
still,
hundred and fifty
I
thousand
mean,
dollars.
that's so deceitful. I mean, when you
But
think about all the stuff he did, like sold before that.
I mean, we've talked about the Mormons and the little cottage industries they develop, which are lucrative. This guy had this jewelry, and also they started a construction business as well. All of these cults need a little
Yeah,
income
they
Little
always,
side
stream.
hustle. You need a side hustle.
Yeah,
yeah, it's like,
yeah.
you
You can't
know,
just be culting 24/7. You got to have a side hustle.
it has to be money laundering because there's all these businesses and nobody knows, there's no professionals doing it. These people aren't educated. But I just heard yesterday the news that Bill Gothard, the leader of the IBLP, is in a coma now. So everybody's praying for him in the IBLP. But,
Oh, God
if they,
bless,
God
Bill.
bless. So yeah, so prayers for Mr. Gothard, who created the Institute in Basic Life Principles, basically a death abuse cult and a
Yeah.
pedophile cult. So
PD
he's in a
file. I like
coma.
a PD file. I get what you're throwing down there,
Is
Stacey.
that
Thank
is
you.
that peanut butter and jelly?
Yeah, a peanut butter and jelly
PBJ or
cult.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, seriously, these people have and here's where I'm getting at. There's absolutely no responsibility. There's no admission of guilt. There's no reconciliation of any kind, acknowledgement. And this is the problem with our world right now, that people just don't take accountability.
And let me say
So,
one last thing.
sorry.
Again, contributing to why people get attracted to these type of things, and especially it's highlighted in this documentary. We often in our world look at one quality of a person. In this episode, in this documentary, it's looks, but we do this with intellectuals. We forgive people that are very, very smart, even people like Einstein and etc., who we venerate as, adding so much to our world, but they had flaws and they had fault. We don't look at people for their whole, being and who they are in so many facets. We look at one facet of them and go, oh, they must be right. Look at the whole celebrity endorsement of politics and products. And why are we following those people? Because they're a good actor or they're pretty. Oh, we should buy this or we should vote for this person because most of them aren't that bright. Sorry.
It's all the outside
I
perception.
think we agree.
This idea of like this hero worship because of perception and opinion of other people. We all make a decision that this is the popular person.
And it's usually
on
one, and it's usually on, excuse me for interrupting, but it's usually on one facet.
I'm thinking about getting a mini facelift, and I'll just leave it at that. But I'm not kidding. I have been actually thinking
Where?
about
You
that.
right here? Any plastic surgeons want to sponsor us?
I'll stand in line for that.
That's not a bad idea. Hey,
Not a bad idea. Dori, how about a twofer?
Please stay tuned for our next episode, Maternal Instinct, on Netflix.
If you love our podcast, consider donating any amount to buymeacoffee.com/podcandy. Every bit helps us keep creating the true crime, cult, and pop culture stories you can't stop listening to.
So people can buy us a cup of coffee?
Thanks so much for listening. Our theme music is written and performed by Midnight Current. Check out more of their work on SoundCloud. For more about us and to catch up on every episode of Pod Candy, head over to podcandypodcast.com. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time.
Pod Candy!